All right, folks, our top 10 films of 2023. Now, usually I ask you guys before we start counting these down, like, what was it like to make your list this year? Every year it's always like a little bit agonizing in different ways. I will say I felt like this year's list, I felt like we had an abundance of great films.
It was hell this year because there's too many movies.
I don't think I felt that way last year. Last year I felt like there's good movies, but like I'm very proud of the list. This year it was like, I have like 30 movies I want to put on my top 10. Jeff, what was your feeling building this out?
Similar. My short list was, I think 20. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 honorable mentions.
So
a second top 10 list.
I have like 15 honorable mentions. So I was like, we're not going to mention any of our honorable mentions on the main episode. You have to wait for the After Dark for those. But I feel the same way. I will also say that as with most years, my top 4 have been locked for weeks. Like no deviation in the top 4. But all the other ones, like literally last night, there was like a last minute replacement for the bottom 2 choices. I think what I'm really happy with in my list this year is that there's a lot of diversity just in terms of what these movies do. They're not, it's not all like 9 superhero films and like 1 drama, right? It's like every movie is doing something a little bit different. And I think that's kind of something we try to do with these lists, is like we try to highlight movies that people wouldn't otherwise see. But for me, I'm trying to make this list represent my year of movies. Like the wide vastness of all the stuff that we saw this year is kind of represented in this list. So
I will tell you, one of the interesting experiences of doing this list this year was going, that was this year? That came out this year?
Long year.
It has been a long year, hasn't it? It's been a long year.
There were movies that I could, if you had asked me, I would have, like Shazam, for example, I would have bet hard cash that it was a 2022 movie.
All right. I am really excited. Also, Jeff, something else we've discussed, I will tell you this. Every movie on my list has either been a main review or something I have brought up during what we've been watching.
Oh, nice.
Like, there's been no...
I think that's the first time, maybe.
I don't know.
You are famous for, I watched 14 movies in the last 2 days.
So I tried to curtail...
No one can watch them until February of next year.
I tried to curtail that this year. I tried to like tone that down this year. So anyway...
A guy snuck me a VHS tape.
I think we've gotten some feedback that people have felt like cheated in the past of like, oh, it's so weird that like Dave's number 1 was a movie he's never mentioned until now.
Exactly.
And I understand that. So like I consciously tried
April it'll hit VOD.
I consciously tried to like, to avoid that, or not avoid, but like be aware of that. Anyway, all that said, let's get into it. The Filmcast's top 10 films of 2023. Devindra Hardawar, what is your number 10 film of 2023?
Let's go. My number 10 movie is How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I loved Daniel Goldhaber's film. It's a perfectly tuned thriller that's about the moral weight of eco-terrorism. And I think it's unique for really giving us that perspective of activists who have kind of had enough, like trying to work through all the standard ways of affecting change and have just been like, well, this will get people to notice things. It's weird to me, like how property destruction is looked down upon when the continued pillaging of our planet by oil companies and others is just like, yep, we're just going to keep doing this. The UN's, climate council being led by the head of Abu Dhabi's national oil company. We're all like celebrating like a line of that the countries have somewhat said that we will reduce oil production or reduce CO2 and carbon emissions by 2050. Okay, congrats. By then we'll all be dead. So yeah, I loved How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I think more people should see. I think people should probably check out this book. And I do think like the idea of how we kind of like affect climate activism is going to have to be clearly like looked on. I don't know. I think we will have to rethink a lot of things.
Devindra, that is a fantastic choice for your number 10. Great movie. Jeff Kanata, what is your number 10 movie of the year?
So number 10 is a place that I love to do something a little out of left field.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I remember.
And
I think you chose "Don't Look Up" for your number 10
I
one
did
year.
last year.
Really,
I did, and
that
it really
really
did. Not, you guys did not care for that.
I did
Oscar
not care.
nominated Don't Look Up. Yeah.
Did not care for that.
Indeed.
Did not
Yeah.
care for that. Yeah.
Met with a lot of derision on that pick. This year, I looked over. There's a lot of movies, as we've mentioned, that I was trying to cram into this list. A lot of things vying for number 10 on my list because I just wanted to squeeze in, oh, that movie really deserves to be there. Oh, that movie really deserves to be there. But ultimately, I went with a movie that has stuck with me in a way that few do. I guarantee you, I don't think either of you even have seen this, and very few people have. This is a documentary that I mentioned. It's called Just 1 Mile. Just 1 Mile is an incredible experience. I don't know if I would put it up there with the greatest documentaries I've ever seen on a pure filmmaking level. That isn't a knock, right? I think the directors Dwayne Codrington and Ed Coughlin did a fantastic job following this race. This is the story of this endurance race that has no end. You go until there's only one person left. And I cannot get this movie out of my head. As someone who continues to participate in endurance running in my life, a look into what is truly one of the ultimate tests of endurance is powerful, it's moving, and ultimately inspiring. And it's a very intimate tale. The characters in it are vibrant, and you will never forget them. These real humans that do this to themselves. I cherish this as one of the experiences of watching movies in 2023. And like I said, it opened me up into a lot of other endurance documentaries that didn't come out this year. But this was the inciting incident. This was the film that made me go down that path. And I think it deserves a spot as number 10 on my list.
I love the kind of out of the box, like out of nowhere, like you might not have predicted a choice, Jeff. So yeah, awesome. And awesome that it's a documentary too. I'm usually the one repping documentaries on the top 10 list. By the way, minor spoiler, no documentaries on my list this year, which I was kind of bummed about. Some on the honorable mentions, but none of the top 10 this year. Just 1 Mile.
It speaks to what you were how you set this whole thing up, where like I wanted the list to represent me in a certain level. And
I love it.
Suggest movies that people might not have thought about since we originally brought them up. And this is a very personal pick for me, and one I'm proud to put on my list.
I love it. As time goes on, like the lists become more of a reflection of us, right? And how we're different or the same, depending on the year. So Just 1 Mile, Jeff's number 10, great choice. On that note, Jeff Cannata, my number 10 choice of the year is Beau is Afraid.
Wow.
This is a movie that does something that no other movie this year achieved. When I reviewed this movie over at decodingeverything.com, I wrote, imagine every negative thought and neurosis you've ever had about yourself, your family, the strangers around you, the neighborhood you live in, your future, your talents, the universe, everything. Now imagine all those negative thoughts manifested and became real. An endless dream from which you cannot wake, end quote. That's basically what it's like to watch Beau is Afraid. It's 3 excruciating hours inside of one man's anxiety, guilt, and neuroses. And while most people will probably find it to be incomprehensible nonsense, I thought it was a masterpiece. I felt seen. And that's why Beau is Afraid is my number 10 film of 2023.
That's a bold choice, Dave. I totally understand that for you. I will say this means you can never complain about movie length again, ever again.
I don't think I generally do. You're right. Sometimes, very occasionally.
Sometimes it's justified, but
it's
also
it's less of a complaint. I'm less complaining. Sometimes I feel like, hey, this movie would be better if it were shorter.
Yes.
But I try not to complain about movie length. It's I understand. But anyway, I have no issues with the length of the movie. I was like, hey, some of the movies you're like, I wish this could last forever.
This is just like living through my life. Yeah.
This is just like
another day.
I'm so glad. Yeah, another day in Beau's life. So that's my number 10
That movie
choice.
certainly is an experience. I will say that about it.
Let's get to number 9s. Devindra Hardawar, what is your number 9 choice of 2023?
My number 9 movie is Poor Things. I think this movie is Yorgos Lanthimos firing on all cylinders. It's his most powerful film, and I think his most hopeful film, with a cast that's like fully prepared to get weird and wild. I think it's also the sort of film you can watch and almost makes you reassess like how you view the world or how you have come to some conclusions about the world, because it's such a philosophical film. So yeah, I love this thing. In I don't maybe for similar reasons to how you like Beau Was Afraid, Dave. Like I do think like this movie just hits on a lot of levels for me. So yeah, loved Poor Things.
Great choice. We recently reviewed Poor Things on the After Dark. We all loved it. So yeah, it's a wonderful, delightful film. Poor Things it's Devindra Hardawar's number 9 film of 2023. Jeff Kanata, your number 9 film of 2023.
My number 9 is Talk to Me.
I love it. I love it.
I'm generally not the first person to jump at the chance of seeing the new horror movie,
right?
As regular listeners of the show will note. But there tends to be every year one horror movie that I'm forced to watch that I end up absolutely falling in love with. This year, that movie is Talk to Me. It is such a clever, cool premise. And like the very best horror ideas, it works as a metaphor for something that we all do, that we all think about. And this movie goes places. It's daring, smart filmmaking, and it shows that you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make something special. I absolutely loved Talk to Me, and it is my number 9.
Jeff, I feel like you're putting me to shame, repping documentaries and horror films in your top 10, which is, I don't even know if that's ever happened. Have you put horror films in your top 10?
Yeah, I think Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was in mine last year.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's really, not supernatural horror,
Yeah.
Well, it's a horror movie. Yeah, it is 100%. And I think the whole time you think it's potentially supernatural. Spoilers for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
That's fair. All right. Well, great choice for number 9. A movie I loved. Talk to Me. It's Jeff's number 9 film of 2023. My number 9 film is All of Us Strangers.
Nice.
This is a kind of quiet, small indie drama. Fox Searchlight put it out. And the one question this movie asks, this is revealed in the first few minutes of the movie, is what if you could speak to your parents when they are the age that you are, when they were the age that you are now, basically, right? How would those conversations go? What would you say? How would they respond to the person you are now from back then? It's a really compelling idea. It's rendered beautifully in this film with amazing performances by Andrew Scott, Jamie Bell, and Claire Foy. Plus, Paul Mescal plays a character, who's in a relationship with Andrew Scott, and their relationship has a tenderness that is poignant and profound. There's images from this movie, moments from this movie that I just can't get out of my head. Jeff, is like you describing just what I just can't get it out of my head. Can't stop thinking about some of these ideas, some of these images. So yeah, the movie is all of Us Strangers. It's in limited release right now. It will be available for home video at some point in the near future. I'm bummed that more people haven't seen it yet, but
yeah, it's a truly beautiful movie.
Yeah, agreed. So it is. Yeah,
this is a huge hole in my. I really wanted to see this before we recorded, and I didn't get a chance to. I chose a different movie to watch last night, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But
did the movie? I also watched the movie last night. Did yours that you watched last night make it into your top 10, Jeff?
It did not.
Yeah, neither did mine.
It's a dangerous thing. It's so dangerous. And we're like, oh.
Yeah.
Does this really compete with everything I've seen
on that
this
movie?
Year? Yeah.
You watch it the night before the list.
The night before the top 10, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Anyway, my number 9 is All of Us Strangers. All right, Devindra Hardawar, let's get to your number 8 film of 2023.
My number 8 film is The Zone of Interest. Jonathan Glazer doesn't make many films, but when he does, I think we should all pay attention. This is a chilling film about the humanity we give up to live in a world of domestic comfort. I think it's something we need to pay attention to right now, in the future, before we let history repeat itself in the Middle East and elsewhere. Like, it is a thing. It is such a simple thing. It is like what we give up, basically, for safety and security. And it's such a powerful movie because it does it in a way that is very deft. I think it can feel boring. I can understand why it didn't really click with you, Jeff, but I think there's something chilling about this movie. To watch this perfect family life happening while in the background you hear gunshots and you hear random cries and screaming. But this little square, this little like perfect country house with a little pool in the back, this is great. This is what they've worked towards. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter like what it takes to get there. I think this movie is unforgettable. So yeah, that's why I'm picking The Zone of Interest.
It's a great choice, Devindra. This movie's been on a lot of top 10 lists, been on many critics, like number one. I think it is a very provocative work and very interestingly made. I think it resonated more with you than it did with me and Jeff this year, but it's still something that I think demands people's attention. Definitely something I think is worth checking out. So great choice for your number 8 film of 2023, The Zone of Interest.
I'm so glad it resonated with you, but I found it to be 2 of the worst hours of my life.
I mean, as it should be.
Yeah. But potentially as it should have been.
Yeah.
Potentially as it should have been. Jeff Kanata, your number 8 film of 2023.
My number 8 is No One Will Save You.
Ooh, nice.
Another horror movie.
Wow.
What is going on?
My last pick was a horror movie, Talk to Me, and this is a thriller that doesn't talk at all.
Yeah. It's the opposite of Talk to Me.
That is not what makes it special. In fact, I wish it hadn't stuck to that so stringently. But what it does do, it does brilliantly. It creates tension. It shows a smart character doing smart things, working through impossible odds, and constantly hits me with jaw-dropping moments of surprise and excitement. This felt like such a departure from the kind of cookie cutter, tentpole movies that we were watching around that time. It just is so much fun, so unexpected, so cool, so different. I absolutely loved No One Will Save You.
It's a great choice. This movie is a great time. It's something that you should definitely watch on Hulu. Really well made. Had a blast watching it. Love this choice, Jeff. Love this choice. No One Will Save You. I think we all enjoyed this movie, if I recall correctly, right? So,
yeah,
absolutely.
My number 8 film of 2023 is How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Yay!
Yeah, I think this is one of the most culturally and politically relevant movies that was released this year. First of all, it's a nonstop thrill ride. It's just like gripping from beginning to end. It's structured like a heist movie. They're putting together a crew and they try to accomplish this mission, and you slowly learn everyone's backstories. But Devindra, as you said, what resonates about this movie is that it's a movie about what happens when people feel like they have no recourse into what happens in our society. More and more, I feel like I hear this kind of hopelessness in how people talk about our politics, like that they cannot stop what is going on that they are not pleased with. And what are, this hopelessness about like what our politics and our capitalism has wrought. And this movie, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, is about that hopelessness and what it can be channeled into and how it can be channeled. And you got to love a movie where when you Google it, you get put on a government watch list, So
that was the plan all along.
You can't discount that.
That's the same thing applies to Rebel Moon.
So every Netflix subscriber, though. Yeah.
I'm also just going to put this out there. Like we've been choosing our top 10 lists for many years, and look, some of them don't age well. Okay, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to say like maybe War Horse as my number one movie.
Whoa!
Maybe
David, you've really
put
grown.
that house or to pasture.
Maybe that didn't age well. Maybe I could have put that as number 3 instead. Okay,
wow,
of the year. I'm gonna say I think this one's gonna age well. Putting this one on the top 10 is gonna be like, wow,
this particular movie or this list?
This movie is gonna be the thing that predicts things to come. Is my guess. So, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Check it out. As Devindra said, it's on Hulu. It's a great movie.
So frustrating that 2 movies that have come up I haven't seen.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be true for the rest of the list, but we'll see, Jeff. We'll see. Maybe. Yeah. All right, let's get to number 7 choice. Devindra Hardawar, your number 7 film of 2023.
Well, speaking of movies you haven't seen, Jeff, and probably you too, Dave, because nobody has seen this movie. It's a goddamn shame. My number 7 movie is 1001. This is A.V. Rockwell's debut feature. It's a powerful story about a mother who is recently let out of prison, and basically kidnaps her son from a neglectful foster system to give him a better life. It's a story about surviving in Giuliani era New York City. So it's like the 90s and early 2000s. And it's about surviving in a world that just really does not care to really help you. So you have to kind of make your own way and break some rules and make a lot of sacrifices to give the next generation a better life. I think this is a beautiful film. It's powerfully acted by Tiana Taylor, I believe. And also 3 separate actors play her son in this. It's a very Moonlight in that way. I think it's a beautiful film and also really captures the way that big cities, in New York City especially, can feel both like a supportive environment and also just like this massive thing that just does not care about you at all. And it's trying to exist within that. This really particular thing, I guess. It's a shame about this movie too, because I saw this at Sundance. It got some buzz out of Sundance. It was on Peacock, I think, for most of the year. Nobody saw it. It had like a small, I think, theatrical release, but not much buzz out of it. It is so disheartening to see a beautiful film that tells a wonderful story, and I think is a signal of a filmmaker who has a lot of talent and who's going to be delivering a lot of stuff, and just like completely forgotten for no reason. And that's a damn shame. So that's why
the
I'm picking
line
it.
must be drawn at Devindra's top 10 list.
That must be it.
He's putting it at a
I'm putting
You're
it
telling
here.
me something could exist on Peacock and no one would know about it?
Something could exist on Peacock. Unfortunately, the entire streaming service, Peacock.
So harsh, Jeff. So harsh.
I mean, that is the problem, though.
Yeah.
Like, that is the problem that NBC is facing with that whole thing, too. Anyway, I think this movie is fantastic. So if that description sounds good to you, it's worth a rent. You can rent it on demand right now. Check out 1001 by Avery Rockwell.
I've heard great things about this. It's made many people's top 10 lists of the year.
Really? I've not seen it anywhere.
I've seen it on multiple. I've seen 1001 on multiple top 10 lists. So
I feel like it may be me and Valerie Complex, and that's it. But okay, I'll check.
But yeah, check it out. Great choice as your number 7, Devindra. And let's get to Jeff Kanata's number 7 list, number 7 item on his top 10 films of 2023. Jeff Kanata, hit us.
My number 7 film of 2023 is Maestro.
Oh,
love this.
Yeah, it's a tour de force of artistry, a beautiful movie with beautiful performances. It's a movie about the burdens of talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the tragedy of only living on this planet for a short period of time and only being able to love a small number of people during that time. And it has incredible cinematic flourishes, beautiful music. I loved Maestro. I am such a fan of Bradley Cooper directed films. I think I have really enjoyed all of his efforts, and I think I can't wait to see what he does next. I think Maestro is an incredible movie. It bums me out that many people will watch this at home with bad sound, with the sound turned down or whatever, and not listen. Like it. The fact that I got to watch this with the sound enveloping me and hear that incredible orchestral music all around me really enhanced the experience of watching Maestro. But I think it's a great movie, regardless of how you see it.
I love this movie, Jeff. Honestly, at one point, this movie was up to my number 5 of the year, and then it fell off the list. But I have a lot of affection for this movie. It really spoke to me. We talked about it on the After Dark. Definitely recommend you check that episode out. But yeah, it's a great choice. Beautiful movie. The movie is Maestro. It's Jeff Kanata's number 7. My number 7 choice for 2023 films is Dream Scenario. In Dream Scenario, Nicolas Cage plays Paul Matthews, a man who randomly starts appearing in people's dreams. Just there. He's not doing anything. He's just standing around. And while he's initially excited by this development, he soon realizes that appearing in people's dreams comes with a few downsides. Dream Scenario is about a really outlandish premise, but it's also about the nature of fame, how we desire it, and how we cope with the downsides of it. It is the perfect movie for today's internet age where the lust for fame is ubiquitous. It's smart, it's funny, it has a classic Nick Cage performance. I don't know what more you could want in a movie. I love this movie. You should check it out. It's available for rent or purchase right now. The movie is Dream Scenario. It's my number 7 choice.
You don't know what anyone could want more in a movie except 6 other things that you found in.
Wow.
Wow, Jeff.
I also love Dream Scenario. It's such a
should
great
I start?
movie.
Should I start trying to pick away the logic holes in your top 10 list, Jeff?
This movie has everything. What else could you want? 6 movies were better than
other
it.
than 6 other movies. Other than 6 other movies that I will list above this one. Okay, Jeff, fair. Sorry, just trying to give some props.
No, it's a great movie. I
Anyway,
also love Dream Scenario.
Yeah. I know you also love this one. So yeah, it's a great movie. People should check it out. I think it will be a movie that is, so to speak, slept on. But people shouldn't. It's wildly enjoyable, and so check it out. Dream Scenario. I just want to point out that at this point in the list, there's only been, I think, 1 overlap.
Yep.
So that is like what in our first 4 choices each. There's been 11 unique films, which I think is kind of great. I have a feeling that's about to change pretty soon, but yeah, let's keep going. Number 6, Devindra Harder, what's your number 6 film of 2023?
Oh, that trend is not changing just yet. My number 6 movie is Joyland. This is Saim Siddique's film about a man and really his family living in modern day Pakistan in a very traditional environment and just wanting more from the confines of their existence of like a traditional marriage and a traditional heterosexual relationship with their wife and everything. It's about a man who basically he joins a burlesque show to make money. It's not really it's kind of looked down upon, so he tries to keep it a secret. He ends up falling in love with the star of that show, who's a trans woman. And this is a movie about him exploring his sexual identity and just trying to figure everything out. But also it's about, the women in his life too, and what his wife is going through, and what the old lady who lives on the street who visits his dad is going through. Like, it is a very multi-layered perspective of life in a very restrictive traditional society, and people just trying to strive for more or trying to like break against the confines of it. I think it's a wonderful film, and I think it's something everybody should see, and it's also easily accessible right now. It's on the Criterion Channel. You could just go there and watch this movie. It's fantastic. That's Joyland by Saim Siddique.
I love the out of the box pick, Devindra. I don't recall you mentioning this in what we've been watching. Yeah,
nope.
So
it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, is this something you watched in the last month? Basically,
I watched it 2 weeks ago, and it's just not something I brought up in what we've been watching.
Right. That's great. I love, Criterion had actually a really great year, honestly. Criterion Channel had like a bunch of great premieres. There was another movie called Godland on there that I really wanted to check out before.
Godland is there. A Fire is there.
A Fire, The 8 Mountains. Like, there's so many movies that I'm just like, I really wanted to get to all those before my top 10. Didn't have a chance. Glad you had a chance to check out Joyland and make it your number 6. It's streaming right now on Criterion. Jeff Kanata, your number 6 film of 2023.
My number 6 film is John Wick 4.
Ooh.
I always want to have at least one pure fun movie on my list, and this is it this year. I said in our initial review of John Wick 4, and I still believe that it may be the best pure action movie I've ever seen. We could remove full dialogue scenes and make this movie shorter.
I think they did.
Well, I think they could remove a few more. We don't necessarily need to know all the machinations of the villain. Is that true? Yes. Could it be a little shorter? Yes. But does that matter? Because I'm here for the kick-ass action, and this movie delivers it over and over and over. It keeps topping itself, and it's some of the most fun I've had at the theater all year. And for that alone, it deserves entry on my list. I had a blast with John Wick 4, and I think it will be a movie I revisit a lot just to watch scenes.
Stairs of 2023.
Yeah. Indeed.
Hey, look. So
best
Jeff,
use of the Arc de Triomphe.
No.
Jeff, I gotta admit, John Wick Chapter 4 also my number 6 choice.
Wow! Synergy.
Wow.
Yes. And I agree completely with you. We talked about this. I literally, we all took. You can probably tell we all took notes for our top 10s. And my first line in my notes was, "It's not going to win any awards for screenwriting." John Wick himself speaks 380 lines during the course of the movie.
3 hour movie.
Over a 168-minute runtime.
Yeah.
So he speaks very few words during the course of the whole film. But this movie, for me, defines the concept of generous filmmaking. These people who made this movie did not want to make a movie unless they felt they could deliver you something fresh and new. They were like, we're not going to make a movie unless we can make it worth it. We're not, I dare say there are people out there that make movies just for the money, just for other reasons, right? I dare say it. And these are people that, like, yes, obviously they're benefiting financially from the movie, but they wanted to make a movie that would show you something you hadn't seen before. And sure, there's some repetition with previous John Wick movies, but there are some amazing action concepts that are executed breathtakingly in this movie. Staircase sequence, the Arc de Triomphe sequence, and there's an overhead shootout that I literally screamed when I saw it for the first time. It was incredible. Dazzling. It was just amazing. And so many amazing moments. I had a great time in the theater. This is one of the few movies I watched more than once in the theater this year. I loved it. Great choice, Jeff Kanata. John Wick Chapter 4. It's Jeff Kanata and my number 6 choice for 2023. All right, folks. Getting real now. Into the top 5. Here we go. Devindra Hardor, what's your number 5 film of 2023?
Well, I've also got another adrenaline pumping action movie for you guys. And that is, my number 5 film is Perfect Days. This is Wim Wenders' film about a Tokyo bathroom attendant who spends his days cleaning toilets, public toilets, and trying to capture the beauty of the world around him too. He's a fascinating figure because it's Wim Wenders, so it's like Paris, Texas. It's like his movies that are very chill, very like atmospheric, just following these characters around and seeing them live their lives. But this man is so fascinating because he lives in a very, very basic Tokyo apartment. Doesn't even have its own bath. He has to go to the public bath to actually, clean up. But he gets out every day. He looks up and he admires the sky and he admires the world around him. And he does his job dutifully. He does his job perfectly. And at lunch, he sits at the same bench every day and tries to take a picture of the way sunlight kind of casts through leaves and just tries to capture that sense of transcendence. He's somebody who totally lives in the now and has found like perfect happiness in doing that. And, that it doesn't always work out well for him, but as an overall like life philosophy, I thought this was a deeply moving movie about just recognizing that, about living in the now and trying to give every moment your all and just not basically appreciating like everything around you when you can, even when you're cleaning the toilets in Tokyo. Like I found this movie very profound. So I loved it. Also great soundtrack because it's Wim Wenders. Like there's classic rock every day. I mean, it's called Perfect Days. So you've got Lou Reed on it too. Just the vibe of it, the aesthetic of it. I really liked hanging out with this character. And also it's just an exploration of Tokyo. It's just casually going around Tokyo and seeing these parks and places too. I freaking love this movie. So that's Perfect Days by Wim Wenders.
And I think it'll be available in theaters or on video on demand in like February's or in the next like 2 months.
It was a limited release. Yeah.
I watched this movie this week to prepare for the top 10. It's not in my top 10, but I really liked it a lot. My wife loved it. She thought it was incredible.
Yeah. Walter Chow wrote a really remarkable review of this thing too. So
I want to bring up a couple things about this movie that I enjoyed. First of all, I think he's a worker for something called the Tokyo Toilet Project. And the Tokyo Toilet Project basically imagines like has these really well-designed public toilets, each of which is different.
Yes.
And one of the best parts of the movie is just looking at these toilets. They're beautiful.
The freaking you close the door and like the frosted glass just covers. Just like shrouds you.
Imagine this toilet in a public place sitting in the middle of a park. It's made out of glass. You go inside, you lock it, and then all the glass like frosts, right? Like it's like that's one of the toilets, and every single one has a distinct personality. In fact, I looked up the making of this movie, and it was originally conceived as a series of shorts about the toilets.
Yes.
I was like, and then that didn't surprise me because I'm like, oh wow, anytime we're not with the toilets, I'm like, when can we get back to the toilets?
Get back to the toilets. Where are the toilets empty?
Yeah,
it is a stunning indictment.
Tuesday for you.
It's a stunning indictment of our public infrastructure too, of the fact that you can never. I lived in New York, so I always have to like go find a bathroom, especially when traveling with kids and stuff. Like, you'll never find that. You'll never find a decently
American public toilets are terrible.
Well, to be fair,
except for one in New York.
Each New York toilet also has its own identity. It's just a terrible identity.
It's just not one you want to get to know.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that I really appreciated about this is like it honestly gave me like photography goals. So what he does is in the movie he takes pictures and then he develops all of them, and then he looks at them in sequence, and then the ones he doesn't like, he rips up. Which I'm like,
he's just
whoa.
using a disposable camera, nothing fancy.
He
He's
rips
just, like,
it. He rips
through.
it up, and then the ones he likes, he puts in a box and like puts like month and year on them, and then puts it in a pile. And I'm like, I gotta start doing that. I gotta start
ripping some stuff up.
Start doing that.
No, I take a lot of pictures, but I don't like do anything to think about
to organize it.
Printing your own photos is like a very profound experience, and so I like the fact that he does it in this. So there's a lot of things to like about the movie. It didn't make my top 10, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that will enjoy it. So
Devindra is making a top 10 list of movies that Jeff still needs to see.
Yep. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
That is Devindra Hardware's number 5. Jeff Canada, what's your number 5 movie of 2023?
My number 5 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Ooh.
First Spider-Verse, I believe, was on all of our lists. I think it was Dave's number 1. And I think this one surpasses it in nearly every way. It takes the visuals, the storytelling, the animation techniques, the references, all of it to the next level. And this movie felt like, as I said, a reward for decades of comic book reading on my part. It's thrilling and fun. And I don't even mind that it ended on a cliffhanger that may be many years in the coming to be resolved.
Right.
I had such a great time, dazzled by Across the Spider-Verse, which is why it's my number 5.
Well, people are going to accuse me of copying Jeff Canada's list starting at number 6, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is also my number 5 choice for 2023.
Look at us.
So we have the same number 6, number 5.
He's in a pod over here.
I have a feeling that some of my choices will also appear higher up on Jeff's list as well. But yes,
you know what people always say, Dave? You and I have exactly the same taste.
100%. Jeff Canada and Dave
like
Chen.
Twinsies.
There's no difference.
Patico
There's no difference between the two of them. Look, there's some things going against this film. Okay, there have been reports that the workers behind the movie weren't treated very well, and also, in my opinion, it's only half a movie. And as Jeff hinted, we're not going to get the other half until late 2024, earliest probably 2025, if not even later than that.
Probably later than that. I'm guessing 2026,
maybe. But despite all this, I have to acknowledge this movie has some of the most innovative animation I've ever seen. You have characters of wildly different designs interacting with each other, sometimes with different frame rates interacting with each other, but it all feels seamless and beautiful. We've seen so many animated films at this point, guys, like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Illumination, and their style, it kind of has gotten a little samey over time. It's kind of like, oh, hey, we kind of understand what the limits of this technology are. And yeah, sometimes it can be impressive occasionally, but we all kind of get it. It all feels a little bit of the same. It's nice to be surprised by what animation can do, and that's what this movie does. And it also has a story that has a lot of heart in it too, so clearly it's told by people who love the source material. So Jeff, you and I, simpatico for 2 choices and then never again, probably. But that is my number 5 choice of 2023. Let's get to the final 4 in our top 10 films of 2023. Devindra Hardwar, your number 4 choice for your top 10 films of 2023.
Sure. My number 4 film is May December. I think Todd Haynes made one of the most fascinating films of the year. It starts out with a relatively simple premise, but it really starts to branch out after that. And I think it's about so many things. It's about our obsession with tabloid drama. It's about the vampiric nature of retelling true stories and, the damage that those tabloid situations can have on real people. And also a really, really messed up relationship. It's also about that. So I love this movie. I can't stop thinking about it. My wife and I talk about it quite often. I recommended it to my parents. I did not watch it with them, but I did watch it like multiple times this year. And I just think it is a wonderful little drama that is perfectly acted. And, it's a script from, I think, basically a first timer too. There's just so much going on in this movie. Like, I cannot stop thinking about it. And that is why it's my number 4.
This is a great choice, Devindra. I love this movie. It was almost in my top 10 as well. Natalie Portman delivers one of the best performances I've seen of the year in this movie. I think it's a great choice. May December, streaming on Netflix. Devindra's number 4 film of 2023. Jeff Canada, it's time for your number 4. And I'm going to say, dude, if you choose my number 4, which is to say...
there will be blows.
Magic Mike's Last Dance. I'm going to be so pissed.
Oh, don't spoil it.
What is your number 4 film of 2023, Jeff Canada?
My number 4 is American Fiction.
Nice.
I absolutely love movies like this. Movies about smart people wrestling with the challenge of creating great art. And Jeffrey Wright as a leading man. Can we have more of that, please? He's fantastic in this, as is the supporting cast. And the social commentary in this movie is challenging and thought-provoking. It's a wonderful movie. I adore it. American Fiction.
Great choice. I really loved what that movie was wrestling with, this idea of people being expected to perform their race in public settings, and obviously Jeffrey Wright, one of our great actors. So a lovely choice. Number 4 choice for Jeff Kanata, American Fiction. It's time for my number 4 choice. My number 4 choice is Poor Things.
Nice.
Poor Things, a boldly original film, has my favorite performance of the year. Favorite actress of the year, actually. Emma Stone, who I thought did such a great job in both Poor Things and The Curse. She's just like has won a spot in my heart forever. She plays Bella Baxter, and she does it with so much fearlessness and humor that this movie is irresistible. This movie is about how Bella is able to continually flummox the frequently horrible men around her just by being herself, learning, and making her way in the world. It's funny, it's creative, it's a great time. I love this movie. It's Poor Things, my number 4 choice. I know it's a movie all of us loved. So yeah. All right, guys, we're getting to it.
Oh,
Top
boy.
3 movies of 2023.
I just want to say my entire top 4, like, it could all, most of it could just have been shuffled in any position. Like those movies are all. It was hard for me to get granular on where they fit. You know, they're all so good.
Interesting. I the opposite for me. I'm like, I feel very strongly about these 4 in these positions.
I felt strongly about which 4. I didn't know which position of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Like usually, I'm kind of like that, Jeff. But this year, I was just like, this is very. Sometimes it's just like very clear, and this year for me it was very clear. But Devindra Hardwar, it seems like it's very clear for you as well. What was your number 3 film of 2023?
My number 3 film is The Boy and the Heron. I think this is the ultimate Miyazaki movie. It is one that is reckoning with Japan's past and also his own like role in it and part of it, but also it deals with the legacy of what we leave behind. And as an aging genius, like I wonder if it must be something he is thinking about quite a lot. I also think it's a beautiful film. Like it's beautifully animated. We've gotten so much good animation this year, but it is both Miyazaki and also Studio Ghibli showing that it can do things beyond just the Miyazaki style too. I did find it like fascinating to see like other animation styles within a Miyazaki movie. I love this movie. I think it's like wonderfully imaginative. It has those big fantasy Miyazaki sequences. It is so painful. Like it looks like it's painstakingly put together too, in terms of just how like gorgeous the animation is. This movie, if this is his last one, I think this is a hell of a way to go out.
The Boy and the Heron, a great work from one of the masters, and a great choice for Devindra Hardwar's number 3 film of 2023. Jeff Kanata, your number 3 film of 2023.
Number 3 for me is Dream Scenario. It's such a fun, funny, wild movie, and with an incredible premise, which it makes the most of. You know, it really explores in really fun ways.
Yeah.
And I think this is the movie on my list that is the most of its time, the most of our time.
Yes,
speaks
absolutely.
most eloquently to the times we are living in.
100%. Yeah.
And I always love movies that use magic, fantastical elements to comment on the mundane truth of living. And this movie speaks to the mundane truth of living in 2023 with these beautiful flights of fancy, this wonderful premise. And it does it with humor and insight. Nick Cage is great. This movie is great. And it's one I'll be thinking of for a long time. Dream Scenario.
I had a feeling you'd put this higher up on your list, Jeff Kanata. I also loved it as well. And now I am feeling like if your number 1 is not my number 1, my number 1 might be your number 2. if that makes any sense. We'll find out momentarily, but it's interesting. I think this is the year where I've had the most overlap with Jeff. At the same time, I've had the least overlap with Devindra. I think that's which is like I don't think that's ever really happened.
Devindra's out before. Playing in his own field over here. It's
love
pretty
it.
fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the variety. So my number 3 film of 2023 is Godzilla -1.
Ooh.
There are many things I expect from a Godzilla movie. I probably expect a sense of scale, some city destruction, a really cool creature design for Godzilla. What I don't expect is an emotionally powerful movie about sacrifice and found family. Godzilla -1 has some of the most thrilling action scenes of the year, a spectacular final act, and an emotional core that makes this the best Godzilla movie I have ever seen. My favorite, at least. I loved it. You got to see it with great image and sound, if possible. It's Godzilla -1. Love this movie. So that's my number 3 film of 2023. All right, guys.
I'm getting to it.
Top 2. Devindra Hardawar. Your number 2 film of 2023.
This is when we are starting to finally overlap.
Yes.
My number 2 movie is Across the Spider-Verse.
Wow, yeah.
For most of this year, this was my number 1 movie because it feels like a miracle. It feels like, it's a stunning follow-up to Into the Spider-Verse, but to me, it's even more astounding that it's a better movie in so many ways too. It's visually more ambitious. It's narratively trying to go for more while also like being more intimate with Miles and his parents and also with other characters too. But I think like the reason I love this movie so much is that it shows us that anything is possible with animation. This is why I love animations. Movies like this and The Boy and the Heron too. Like these are just artists working at a world-class level, at a very high level with genius writers behind them too, and a whole team that is just dedicated to producing like one of the most unique things we've ever seen. So there are shots from this movie that I think are just some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I wish I could like wallpaper my entire house with stills from this movie. I love Across the Spider-Verse, and yeah, it is half a movie, but it did not feel that way to me. It felt like this felt complete. It's just the ending leaves me wanting more. That's all.
It's a great choice. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the only movie that has appeared on all of our lists at this point. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
As it should be. Yeah.
At this moment, that could change in the next 10 seconds. Jeff Kanata, your number 2 film of 2023.
And so it shall. My number 2 is Poor Things.
Ooh.
Which I believe was on everybody else's lists as well. It's such a bold and interesting vision. It takes familiar classical tropes and grounds them in a way that resonates even more in a modern context. And yet, the setting, the filmmaking, the look and feel of this movie is anything but grounded. It's a fable. It's a fairy tale with gorgeous, effortless world building that brings us on a journey of self-discovery and pure adventure that is funny, sexy, and ultimately enlightening. It's a movie unlike anything else this year, and I am so glad I got to see Poor Things.
Awesome, Jeff. I'm so glad you love that movie. Yeah, so Poor Things and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the only things that the Filmcast hosts can agree on in terms of good movies this year. Jeff, I feel like we might have the same number 1 movie of the year.
Bet
I'm
you
starting
guys
to feel it too, but I do not think you like this movie as much as me.
No, I think we might have the same number 1 movie of the year. We're gonna find out momentarily. Wow, it's I'm
we're sweating.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm on the edge of my seat about this. But okay, anyway, my number 2 film of 2023 is Past Lives. Celine Song's movie about an immigrant woman named Nora reconnecting with a former friend is filled with longing and regret, but it's also about a different slice of the immigrant experience. It's not about what happens to the people who leave and go somewhere else. It's equally about what happens to the people who stay behind and all the stories that don't get to happen because those stories are interrupted. It's a beautiful film with soulful performances, and it just makes you think about all the connections you have in your life and all the ones you've missed. Stuff that I personally spend a lot of time thinking about in my own time. A wonderful debut, beautiful movie. Definitely one that was very thought-provoking for me. I would strongly recommend you watch Past Lives.
I absolutely love this movie, Dave. So yeah.
I watched it last night. because I knew it was going to be on your list.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did. I watched it last night.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a lovely movie.
Yeah,
It is certainly one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
It did not make my top 10.
Sure.
But I think it's a sweet, small little movie, beautiful, patient movie.
Yeah.
It's about the moments in between the lines.
Yes.
And I really was glad I watched it, but unfortunately did not make my top.
One of my favorite opening scenes of the year too. Like, it is just like unconventional how it tells this story and how it presents these characters and where it goes. It's fascinating.
I'm just gonna say, Jeff, I'm touched that you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm touched that you checked it out because it's not. I haven't been like banging the drum about past lives for the last few months, but the fact that you thought about it, it's touching. So thanks for checking it out, Jeff. All right, here it is. Our number one films of 2023. Let's start with Devindra Hardawar.
Yeah.
What is your number one film of 2023?
Once again, I bet I'm an outlier here, but my number one film of 2023 is Killers of the Flower Moon. I call this movie a masterpiece in our review, and I still feel this way about it. This year we've seen so many directors make films that feel like they're the culmination of their careers. It's Miyazaki telling the story about a master who can't keep his talents moving forward. I think even Napoleon feels like that a little bit for Ridley Scott, and just like the way he makes movies. I think once again, Scorsese is flashy. He is focusing on flashy criminals, but what is fascinating about this movie is that they're not so flashy. They're actually just pure evil, a symbol of America's, racism and relentless desire to destroy native lives and culture. And I think this is a powerful film. I think Lily Gladstone is a wonder in it. I cannot stop thinking about this movie and what this movie means for the state of America, and how you could draw a straight line from this original sin of America, the way they treated natives, basically to everything still happening now. I hope it leads to more powerful explorations of native peoples. And I think it's incredible to see Scorsese make such a thing that feels even more mature than he's ever done, even though he's in his 80s, right? He has been doing this for a long time. It still feels like he's still learning. And to me, that is fascinating too.
It's a great film, and one that I feel so lucky to have been able to see this movie in a theater. I had this weird feeling when I watched Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm like, you're not going to get too many more of these, David Chen. Like, honestly, that's how I felt. It was like, you're not going to get a chance to see like an epic movie by one of the great directors of all time in a movie theater for that much longer. Like, I don't know. It just feels like that whole generation of filmmakers is, getting older, and they're making movies right until the end, and I love that. But like, what are the movies that are going to be? Is there going to be a movie like Killers of the Flower Moon coming out in 10 years, 20 years? I don't know. I feel lucky to have been around when a movie like this was able to come out. It's a great choice for Devindra's number one movie of 2023, Killers of the Flower Moon. Jeff Kanata, should we count from 3 to 1 and say it at the same time? Like, what do you?
No.
No?
I think they might be the same, but
I think they might be the same.
Surprised.
I will let you go first. You go first. Okay.
Okay.
Jeff Kanata, what is your number one film of 2023?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my number one film of 2023 is best summed up in the form of a limerick. You ready?
Always.
I'm trying to be.
There were some spots that were too close to call.
I know where this is going.
Yeah.
But one film stands over them all. It could not have been cooler because it stars Sandra Hüller. It's Anatomy of a Fall.
Yay!
Nicely done, Jeff.
Is yours also Anatomy of a Fall, Dave?
My number one film of 2023 is also Anatomy of a Fall.
High five.
So you fall together.
I honestly didn't think you loved it as much as I did. I thought it was pretty obvious how what mine was going to be, but I did not I did not recall you. I know you liked it, but I didn't know it was your favorite movie of the year. I will just do my little
please
spiel here.
Tell us. Yeah,
this is a film of delicious mysteries and simple, beautiful humanity. It shows how complicated relationships can be and how inscrutable they inevitably are from the outside. It forces us to question our own assumptions and challenges the notion that we can judge from the outside looking in. The performances are incredible. The filmmaking raw. It's my favorite movie of the year. I hope everyone makes a point to see Anatomy of a Fall. And I notice it is hit VOD.
Yes.
Please check it out. It's incredible. Sandra Hüller, I hope, is nominated for an Academy Award. She is exquisite in the movie. And I think the supporting cast is also excellent. Riveting filmmaking that challenges your notions of what you can think about the world and other people. And I'm so pleased that it is also your number one, Dave.
Yeah, I think what is great about Anatomy of a Fall is it is about how unknowable things are, right? That's what it is about. What happens in this film by Justine Triet is there is a fall, an incident where someone falls that is catastrophic, and it becomes the defining event of this family's life. And beyond just following what happens with the protagonist, Sandra, and the recriminations and investigations that come, the movie's about how we know things, how we think we know things, right? So many people. You know, Jeff, we talked about like dream scenario and how it's of our time. I feel like this is equally relevant to today's society. So many people think they know what other people's lives are.
Yeah.
You know, like people see a viral video on TikTok of Couch Guy or whatever, and they're like, I think I know what that relationship is because I saw a 30-second clip.
Or or even on a grander scale, you know, it certainly recalls the like Johnny Depp trial that everyone seemed to be hanging on every word of.
You see clips of stuff on the internet, you see clips of stuff on the news, and you think, I know, those people are like this. Those people are this archetype. And you jump to all these conclusions about who people are around you or that you know or celebrities or who else. And what this movie presupposes is, what if you don't know anything? What if you are looking at a piece of paper or a map through a straw? You're seeing a tiny glimpse of this thing. And it's the proportion of confidence. You know, like it's like the level of confidence is inversely proportional to actual knowledge a lot of the time, right? People have so much confidence about like, it's definitely like this, it's definitely like that. And I love a movie like this that challenges those preconceptions. It's essentially saying, hey, you don't actually know anything. Only the people in the thing know it. Only the people in the thing know it. And even they're each only getting half the story, right? This movie is thrilling. It's meticulous. It's thought-provoking. It features some of the best performances of the year, including, by the way, some incredible dog acting that I don't even know how they achieved.
I hope it's not method, you know?
I don't even know how that was accomplished. But it's a monumental achievement, and I think it's one that deserves everyone's attention. And that's why it's my number one film of the year. It's Anatomy of a Fall.
Also, best villainous lawyer of the year too. Just that guy,
so good.
Punch him. Just want to punch him.
But he's like, yes, you want. But he's also like good at his.
He's
job.
good. He's good at it.
Makes good points.
He's making good points. He makes
that wig. Jeff, he's really wearing that wig. Yeah.
I gotta say, real mixed feelings right now. Because on the one hand, it's always nice to feel like you're a simpatico with some of your co-hosts, you know, who we make the show with. On the other hand, wow, Jeff. Really took the wind out of my sails there, huh? Really. We had what did we have? We had matching number 6. We had matching number 5.
Yeah.
We also both had Poor Things and Dream Scenario on our list.
Yeah.
And then our number 1s were the same. So Jeff Canada and I had very similar lists. Meanwhile,
you're clearly like in a dream scenario with each other. You're just like
I need to
take
a shower.
I am amazed, by the way, that none of us have put Oppenheimer in our top 10s.
No Oppenheimer on the list,
Barbie.
no Barbie, no Super Mario Brothers. Nothing. None of the top 3 films of the year in terms of box office grosses.
Not surprised about Super Mario Brothers, but
I know. Well, it was. I think. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm impressed that Devindra went with Killers of the Flower Moon, because I was going to point out none of us put Killers of the Flower Moon, but then there it is, number 1.
There it is, coming out of nowhere.
Scorsese, wild Scorsese.
Yeah.
We have so many more choices to discuss. So many movies in our honorable mentions. It will be in the After Dark. But any other observations about the list before we wrap this up for the year? I
Yeah.
want to say I think these are all awesome movies. You know,
Yes.
like I'm really happy to see this variety of movies on our top 10s, and
I'm excited to check out a lot of the movies on Devindra's list that I have
My
yet to
list
see.
was basically chosen to be like, hey, there's a ton of other great movies out here this year. You should all see everything in our top 10s, especially my top 10. Yeah.
I think I will admit that seeing other people's top 10 lists does in some way shape my list a little, not a lot, not a lot. It's not like it's going to change my number one or anything.
Right.
But maybe if I see Oppenheimer on like 15 top 10 lists.
I saw Oppenheimer in everybody's lists.
And it's
I was like,
maybe that means I don't need to put it on my list. Maybe that means like I can put something else on. Now, I don't think Oppenheimer would have made the list anyway, but I'm just saying like
I thought Oppenheimer was an amazing movie, but I wouldn't. Yeah. It's not in my top 10. Go ahead.
The thing about Oppenheimer is I was like, I kept seeing on everybody's top 10s, like, maybe I should reassess Oppenheimer. Maybe I'm wrong about my feelings. And then I look at the time length of Oppenheimer. I'm like, I could watch 2 other movies that I've never seen before and actually like have a new experience with those. And that's what I ended up doing. I didn't have time to rewatch Oppenheimer. I think I chose wisely because I'd rather see those new movies.
I would love us to say what the biggest surprise on each other's list is. I would say I expected Beau is Afraid to be much higher on your list, Dave.
Yes.
I was shocked it was at 10. I am also very surprised that Godzilla -1 is that high for you. I thought Godzilla -1 would be on Devindra's list.
Yeah, me too. I was surprised.
I liked it. I totally liked it.
That Godzilla -1 was not. I just had I had such a profound experience watching Godzilla -1. I think like I was thrilled and I cried. Like it's rare for a movie to thrill me and also make me cry.
Not since War Horse has this happened.
How dare you?
I just think you just like large animals going through crisis.
Animals and war. That's all we need.
Large creatures going through crisis. That's correct.
If you had asked me which of the 3 of us liked that movie the most, I would have said Devindra. And that's
I mean, I really liked it, but I think also Dave, you were the one pushing to do a full review for it. So
I think I think it was a mutual decision. But yeah, I think. I just had such a, and it also like the other thing. So A, made me cry. B, it was like thrilling action, etc. C, came out of nowhere. Like it's not a movie that was even on our radar 3 months ago. Right?
For sure.
So like for all those reasons, it's like that earns a spot on the list. Is like it just is like, and I say that because it's like it's not like it was like endlessly hyped and then we saw it and it's like not as good as we thought it would be. So,
right. I don't know. Honestly, it was pretty hyped before we saw it, or at least before I saw it.
Sure. But
we were telling you how good it was. Yeah.
In terms of your list, Jeff, I don't know that there's that many surprises. I
mean, the horror movies are surprising.
Yeah. Putting Talk to Me and No One Will Save You. That's Jeff kind of turning over a new horror leaf. That's nice to see.
I was a little sad.
Our influence.
I thought at least one of you would have No One Will Save You on your list as well.
It was close. Like there's so many things. Listen, I basically have a top 30. So like there were so many close things.
And I just love that Devindra put how to blow up a pipeline in his number, because it's not a movie we have referred to endlessly on the podcast leading up to that. And it's always nice when you get to the end and it's like, oh, you've been thinking about this movie the whole time as well. That's cool. When you get to the end and that happens. So and of course Devindra's list is full of like a bunch of surprises. I
would not have guessed Killers would make number 1 for him. I would not have guessed that.
I mean, I knew I loved that movie from the first moment I saw it.
I think there's a huge...
But it was Spider-Verse until I saw Killers, to be honest. So yeah. And yes, so the overlaps on our list, we all had Poor Things, we all had Spider-Verse, and that's it, I think, right?
That's what I predicted. 2. I said 2 or 3 would be on all 3 of our lists.
This is probably one of our most like diverse set of lists ever. So love it, guys. Love it. Well, wonderful year for movies. And at the end of the day, it's really impressive that all these movies were made.
So they're going to list off 30 directors.
Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast. where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.